One, we're live. Hello and welcome to PropTechBuzz, a business podcast on global PropTech, where we talk to global founders and CEOs and learn from them how they build and manage successful PropTech companies. Today, I am thrilled to have with me an exciting guest with us, Akhil Saraf. Akhil Saraf is the CEO and co-founder of Reloy, and their website says they are the world's largest homeowner loyalty and referral program. And this is something we will distill. Loyalty program in real estate, never heard of. Very, very interesting space. And that is exactly why we have the CEO Akhil here, trying to demystify what it is. And they also fundraised 1.5 CR very recently. And I'm going to ask, one of the questions was just before we went live, I was asking how's it going, and he said that it's chaos because they have raised a fund and now they're doing a set of things after fundraising. I have never had a conversation about what happens post fundraising, so we are going to have a little conversation on that as well. So before I welcome Akhil, I also want to let all my audience know that we are a prop tech podcast channel. It's been a good run of 5 months, and in the 5 months, slowly and steadily, we have gotten a subscriber base of around 2K followers on YouTube and on Spotify. Spotify we just launched 2 weeks ago. We already got a lot of followers because many prefer audio only format. So around 600 subscribers on Spotify. So if you are interested in prop tech topics, and if you're interested on all the exciting speakers that are going to come in the future episode, and if you are new here, you have all the content in the past episodes, please consider subscribing and liking, because the more people subscribe, like, and also leave reviews, we get an opportunity to reach out to a wider audience. So I would request you all to hit that like, subscribe, and follow button. With that, let's welcome Akhil. Akhil, welcome to PropTechBuzz. How are you doing today?
Very well. Thank you for having me, Ravi. It's quite commendable that you're doing something that's focused on PropTech itself. PropTech as a sector, obviously, is a very specialized niche. And kudos to you for taking this mission and holding the baton of taking this entire industry forward. Right.
Thank you, Akhil.
Thank you for that.
It's a privilege to have you. So before we get into the meatier stuff, okay, very, very exciting stuff with what you're doing, Reloy. But what is a good context setter is to know a little bit about your personal background, okay, and what context you are in, and then your transition story of building Reloy.
Okay, so my personal background is actually in tax consulting and loyalty marketing. I did tax consulting for 4.5 years. I was part of my family business, grown up in Calcutta. And, like my options in life was like either to join the family business and follow that, or where I become the Abhishek Bachchan of my house at best. So I was like, okay, I'm smart enough to do something on my own and build something. And I really found loyalty as a space very interesting, right? Because there was a lot of focus in 2015 when we started in terms of acquiring customers, but no one was focused on retaining customers and what the power of your existing customers are, right? And even as a 23-year-old, it was fairly obvious to me that, customers are your bread and butter, right? And your existing customers, your loyal customers are your best ones. So why not focus on that and build a product around it, which would help businesses sustain in the long run? So the first version of Reloy was actually called Loyally, where we were working with restaurant, retail, B2B, automobiles, and a whole bunch of other sectors. The idea was to do loyalty differently. I personally don't believe in points, and I don't think that points work in the fashion that they've been run in the world so far. And that's sort of where we created a stamp system of loyalty, right? And in this, when we were solving for different forms of businesses, someone actually asked me to solve for an electronic store, right? And I started wondering that, what is loyalty in an electronic store? Because you're buying once in a year, once in 2 years or so, right? So that's sort of where the concept of referrals came into the picture, that how do we solve for referrals for offline businesses, right? Like online businesses like Uber, Ola, all these guys were having these schemes where give a free ride, get a free ride. But that same power needed to be harnessed by offline businesses. When we solved this for electronics, that's sort of where I realized that the largest value for this piece is in real estate, right? So when I was doing restaurant retail, I was in Bangalore for a couple of years. And when we moved into real estate, we actually moved to Bombay and set up base here, right? Because Bombay is the capital for real estate in India. So yeah, that's sort of where the transition came in, because in 2017, RERA was actually a new law that had just been introduced, right? So what happened when RERA got introduced was that the government essentially guaranteed the delivery of the house for the first time in history of India, right? So the problems that plagued real estate before that were, the average delay, if I'm not wrong, in Delhi was some 48 months for every project that was going to be delivered. In Bombay, that number was around 36 months. And that problem was now being taken away from real estate as a product, right? Because the government was now creating very, very strong mandates in terms of when the property has to be delivered. And there was a warranty that came with the property for 5+ years. So automatically, I was like, okay, this is a sector that really needs this kind of a solution where we need to build on the positivity of good builders having managed their customers well, right? So that's sort of where the opportunity came up, and that's sort of we went all in. We had about 200 clients in restaurant, retail, and some other sectors, and realized that PropTech is really where the value is, right? And it's a massive underserved market where no one is thinking in terms of homeowner centricity, right? And that's sort of where we jumped in and moved in.
So how does the referral work in real estate? Like if I am a customer of
Right.
a developer, and if I am referring other customers, then I'm getting rewards of some sorts. Am I right? Or could you
Right.
explain what Reloy is and what kind of offering do you give?
So, okay. So just think of it this way, right? Like, just like say there's Marriott Bonvoy or Club Vistara or Amazon Prime, right? We have programs like Godrej Ambassador, Embassy Priority, M3M Life, Colte Patil Nest. The idea over here is to take care of the customer, whether you're referring or not, right? Just by virtue of you having bought with the builder, we're going to take care of you and go above and beyond for you, right? So at the baseline of this, what we do is that we help customers with their document management, payment management, construction updates, ticket management, stuff that you need from the builder, right? So that your experience with the builder is a lot smoother. But what we do is that we add a layer on top, right? So all the aspirations that the customers have, right? So that home interiors, home loans, all stuff that is directly connected to the purchase of your house. Now, what's interesting about this is that customers typically have a lot of anxiety at the point of purchase, right? It's the highest value purchase that they've made, and it's a once in a lifetime transaction, right? So most people have never bought a home before. They don't know how to go about it and what to expect out of it. Now, while the house itself is a large value transaction, so is a home loan, so is a home interiors, right? So this could qualify as the second largest purchase that you're making and the third largest purchase that you're making, right? Like broadly in your life. So when customers are doing that many high value transactions and they're anxious about that many different things, solving for everything that comes with buying a house becomes imperative, right? And the onus on this somewhere comes on the builder, because the builder is the one selling the product. Now, from a builder's perspective, they can't go out and solve everything, right? Like it's impossible to solve all the aspirations that come with a home, right? That's where a company like us comes in, right? That we partner with these builders, create these loyalty programs, take care of the customer from the moment they book up to possession and up to the society getting formed. Now, in this, if a customer is happy, they reward their builder with referrals, right? So if I'm happy as a customer of Godrej Properties, I would refer my friends to the Godrej Ambassador program. And when my friend buys, my friend gets a discount on that purchase and I get some cash back on this thing, right? All facilitated by Reloy, of course, in this thing. The idea is that your friend should get a discount simply because you are aware of this thing and you're the person connecting the whole value chain, right? So in this, so that's typically how referrals works in real estate.
Okay, you need to dumb this down a little bit for somebody, because this is
Okay,
your familiar ground. Okay, so
right.
you use a language which is familiar to you. However, for others, so why would the builder not have his own referral program? Why would he partner with an external partner like you? Because it sounds
Right.
simple, right? It's a loyalty program. You just You just give them a referral for any referral rewards. Yeah, why partner with somebody external like you? What is
So
the
that's an
value that
interesting
you have?
question, right? Yeah. So what happens in this is that typically every builder had this thing, right? Like give 1%, get 1%. This is sort of like as age old, they don't really need us to broadcast an email to their customers, right? But referrals in real estate is slightly more complicated, right? Because getting the customer trust up to that level where they are comfortable to talk about you to their friends and family, right? And extend the trust that they have with you to their friends and family, right? That is sort of that's sort of what we are solving for, right? That how can we create an experience that is so great that you would want to talk to your friends and recommend them that this is a safe bet because these guys are transparent about what we are doing. Now, think of it this way. Um, so most builders, most unorganized builders, right? Like what they do is that after they've sold and they've gotten to 10% collection, they sort of forget the customer, right? Because the customer is locked in. They don't really have a motive to engage the customer anymore. The only thing they do is send out these referral mailers, right? That um, get 1%, give 1%, whatever, right? Like now, what happens in this is that it becomes a very transactional relationship, right? That I'm barely giving you a construction update, but I'm constantly asking you for your endorsement, and that's not fair, right, with customers, because customers have more aspirations from their home. And if you go ahead and solve those aspirations, customers are happy to reward you with referrals. Now, most of our clients typically see a 10% increase in their top line after they've onboarded us and deployed our program across the board, right? This is on the back of the fact that we actually start engaging customers and actually start tapping the delight that customers have with the house. Now, on one hand, people keep talking about the negativity that surrounds builders in India, right? Like that, because there's been enough stuff that's happened in the past that has created some degree of apprehension in the broader market, right? So, but there is a good side to real estate, right? Like it's a $180 billion sector. It's not just something that comes out of nowhere, right? It's roti kapra makan, as basic as it gets. So, in this last year, we've actually channelized 1,000 crores of referral sales. Now, what 1,000 crores of referral sales stands for is 1,000 crores of customers being happy with their builder and extending that trust to their friends and family, right? And that, I think, is something that actually reflects that sure, there are challenges that real estate faces, but someone needs to get in and solve for the good ones, and the ones that are happy need to reward the good builders, right? And that sort of incentivizes the builder more and more to treat their customers better, right? So it's a win-win situation that we are creating, because builders get more sales, customers get a better customer experience, right? That's sort of what we are solving for in this, and that's sort of where referrals is something that they can't particularly solve for. There is a second layer to this challenge also. Now, builders, now what are the customers' aspirations, right? So there are two types of aspirations that customers typically harbor, which is from the ancillary sectors of housing finance and home interiors, right? On the housing finance side, they expect that the builder will solve your housing finance needs, which they do at the point of sale, right? But on an ongoing basis, is the builder helping the customer in optimizing the home loan? Probably not, right? Most builders are not talking to their customers, so going back and telling them that, hey, your home loan may have gotten cheaper, is not something that's inside their purview, right? That's something that a company like us can step in and do that for them. The second part to this challenge is the home interior side, right? So today, if I'm a large builder and let's take Bombay as a city, I have one project being delivered in South Bombay, one project being delivered in Navi Mumbai, one project being delivered in Thane, right? And this is happening in 2023, 2024, 2025, right? Now, what happens when you have three different uh, uh, deliveries is that the customer's aspirations are different in each segment, and all customers are only getting possession at one point in time, right? So December 23 has happened, nothing comes up before May 2024, hypothetically, right? Now, can the builder actually get in and solve for all the aspirations of interiors? Probably not. That for us, We are managing 1,40,000 apartments across all builders that are our clients today. And what that does is it allows a central service to cater to the needs of homeowners, right? So today we are not representing one builder, we are representing 30, right? And we take that collective strength to these brands and get customers the best deals, right? That, okay, here is the best interior design deals, here are the best packers and movers deals, here are the best furnishing, electronics, everything that you could imagine, which come as a point in time of possession, right? That's how we've gotten in. That's sort of where builders are giving this piece to us to manage.
Got it. So could you help us go through the user experience or user journey? Okay, at what point do you come in,
Right.
and how do you make customers happy? When do they interact with you? Are you presenting yourself as a Reloy, or are you white labeling it under the brand? That means the
Right.
customer feels that this is Godrej, which is giving us this experience, and not Reloy. Are you working behind the scene? Could you help us understand this experience?
Right. So the second you become part of, say, Godrej Properties, right? Like automatically you get onboarded onto Godrej Ambassador. You're being given different access to different parts of your home purchase. We'll help you manage the entire thing and try to create a great experience around this. Then give you layers of deals and discounts around different occasions that's coming up, right? So Diwali deals, holy deals, Independence Day, whatever comes through the year, right? Up to the point of possession, where possession, everything becomes around the house, right? So everything is catering about the house. Now, under any loyalty program, typically we are solving for documents, that all your documents is easily managed. You can find all your layouts, all your property papers, everything in one place, helping you with all the compliance that comes with it, right? So if it's signing an NOC, if it's signing like any form of consent letter that is required, all of that can be automated using Aadhaar. In terms of payments, streamlining the entire payments process with the builder, uh, getting streamlining the ticket management process with the builder, um, and everything around this, right? Like the idea is that the customer needs to have a very smooth experience. Now, customers typically have experienced this somewhere or the other, right? Like in across every other thing, whether that's cabs, food, e-commerce, customers are used to a digital experience now, which is incredibly smooth. Now, a builder can't typically come in and solve for the sheer scale that tech has reached in every other sector, right? Because the builder's focus is not that, right? The builder has enough problems to deal with. So there is um, project, capital, sales, marketing, dealing with local government, state government, politicians, right? And there's a whole other set of stuff that they're already dealing with, right? Now, in this, customer satisfaction is something that slightly gets takes a backseat, right? That's sort of where we come in, and that's like in terms of this being white labeled or not, the other part of your question. So it is, all these programs is co-run by us, right? So it's with like any program. If you take Key Club by Piramal, it's by Piramal Realty and Reloy, right? And that's sort of the idea over there, that it has to be co-run between the two of us, and that branding is also uh, there in front of the customer when they're interacting with these deals and discounts. It's not the builder's responsibility, right? You're engaging with a broader audience, and Deloitte comes in for that support, and the builder is not responsible for it. The builder is just trying to do a good thing for you, right? They are not trying to get in and figure out the interior aspect for you, but their responsibility ends with getting you the best deal from a reputed brand, right? That's where we step in.
You mentioned about a lot of tasks which the builders used to do before, like helping with compliance, streamlining payments, and stuff like that. They
Right.
do this. They might be doing a shoddy job, but is it happening that you are taking away a lot of these tasks on your plate as a specialist, so that developers just focused on delivering a great product, and the
Right.
experience side of it and the interaction is gradually coming on your side? Is that how it is?
Exactly, right? Like, so today, it's done very manually, right? And technology is not something that they've really figured out for this entire situation, right? that's where we come in, that we add the technology layer to amplify the power of their teams that exists, right? So creating a better process, creating a better thing, because for us what we also get very passively is the collective experience of the industry, right? So because we are working with 30 different builders, right, and largely tier A builders across the country. So we are working with companies like Godrej Properties, DLF, M3M, Kolte Patil, Embassy, Brigade, Mahindra, Shapurji, Piramal, K. Raheja, right? So all the best minds of the industry have actually come together and have built on this software, right? And the system learns, and the system gets better for everyone and solves for best practices across the industry.
Hmm. So you mentioned about the tech play here. What is the tech play here? Like what kind of tech solutions are you looking at to optimize these
Right.
services?
So we actually plug into the builder CRM and their ERP, whatever systems that they are already used to, and then we add layers of WhatsApp chatbot, website, app, everything that you would need to interact with the customer, right? And give them all the digital platforms that they would need. And our idea is to make it easier and easier for the customer to engage with the builder, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, so it's a wide spectrum of things that we look at.
So is there an interface that you provide also to the customer to interact, or
Yes,
how does it
yes.
work?
So there'll be a website, an app, a chatbot that's running each of these programs.
So the moment a customer comes in and signs the contract with the builder, okay,
Right,
pays advance, then the builder offers them this. So you also come in, and so you are introduced as an intermediary or as a partner,
right.
and then the customer gets this login information, and the customer goes in there, and what do they see there? What do they get?
As I said, right, everything related to their documents, then uh, housing finance related benefits, home interior related benefits, lifestyle
Okay.
benefits, all of this, and referral benefits, right? The power that they have to reward their friends and family to buy from the same builder, right? Like gift a discount to your friend, right?
Mm,
It's a good thing to do, right? If you're getting a good experience from a builder,
mm.
it's just a good thing to extend that benefit to a friend who may be unsure and going through the same set of anxiety of how do I identify whether this builder is going to deliver or not, right?
Mm.
And that's sort of what where
So
we
the
come.
referral is the referral only from the builder, or the referral is also from the banks, so that they can recommend others for the same bank, and also the home
No,
interior.
this is only for a homeowner, right? So this is for the homeowners of a builder, where they can refer their friends to the same builder, right? So today I can't ask the customers of builder A to vouch for builder B, right? So customers of builder A can only vouch for builder A, right? And that's
No,
sort of where
so
our
builder
model is.
builder is fine. I'm talking about the home interior provider. Okay, if they're happy
Right.
with the home interior, is there a referral for that home interior or for the bank as well?
No, we are not currently serving those markets. We are focused on the home ownership aspect of it because there are enough problems to solve within real estate, and
Hmm.
I think that it's important that someone steps up and solves the problem for Indian real estate, right? And that's the gap that we are trying to fill.
Right. So since this is all about keeping the customer happy in the entire experience, what do
Right,
you do to ensure that okay, the home interior providers that you are, I'm sure you are
right.
recommending some home interior providers. So what are how you're ensuring that these? Do you create a marketplace where you offer them, or you actually list out the ones that you have vetted out in terms of quality and stuff like that?
Right. So we actually do have we have a massive filtering mechanism to figure out what are the good builders, not good designers, not good designers, and what we also have is that we are the only company that's doing this in this country today, right? What that does is it creates a safe space that if you mess around with the customers of builder A, I will
Mm.
ban you from builder B, C, D, E, F, and this
I see.
entire channel of sales is closed forever, right?
Right.
So it gives us a different level of strength altogether to work with these companies to ensure a great service on that end too. No one wants to close an entire channel of sales, especially one that is as valuable as a clean, direct sales process to new homeowners, right? There is no other way that there's no digital technology, there's no platform that can get you to a new homeowner at the point of purchase or at the point of handover, right?
Mhm.
If you think about it, like today, if I go on a any search and discovery platform, right, like 99 acres, magic bricks, housing.com, the transaction largely falls off after I found a property, right? So after I've found a property, I've gone to the builder, and I may have closed 3 months later, 4 months later, 5 months later, right?
Right.
So the platform can never, with a high degree of confidence, say whether the customer has bought or not, right?
Mhm.
And so all these search and discovery platforms don't know. Google, Facebook, which are your most traditional marketing channels, digital marketing channels, they aren't aware of this kind of a purchase either, right? They can guess, but they can never know for certain that these are the 1,000 customers that actually ended up buying a house, right?
Mhm.
So even they can't create a clean channel of sales to these people, whereas the builder can, right? And the expectation of the customer with the builder is to do so, right?
Mhm.
That's sort of the gap that we're filling in.
Got it. And so, how are you measuring customer happiness? So, is this, because it's again very subjective, right? So, is this by the virtue of whether or not they have taken a referral program, which becomes a de facto measurement KPI
Right.
for you? Or
Right.
are you actually measuring with an NPS, or you're talking to them, getting qualitative feedback and stuff like that? How do you measure the actual satisfaction of?
It's a blend of both, right? So what we've realized is that there's a correlation between your customer delight and referrals, right? So at different points in the journey, the customer delight changes. At the point of purchase, the delight is at the highest, right? Like, because think about it, you're convinced to buy a house with that builder. You're putting in your life savings, you're taking a loan for 20 years. So the conviction and the happiness with the company is at its highest, right? Now, during the waiting period, which is where our large focus lies on, right? That we are managing customers when the builder is taking care of their customers in under construction projects, right? Typically, there is an expected fall off that happens over here. Now, why is this an expected fallout? Um, this is human nature, honestly, like for lack of a better term, because if you think about it, there is some degree of buyer's remorse that kicks in, right? So buyer's remorse, like today, if you have to buy between two cars, right? So think of like a Honda City or a Hyundai Verna, right? Two cars, great selling cars, great cars in themselves. Some things will be good in car A, something will be good in car B, right? What happens in this is that you will always end up defending what you've bought and regretting what you don't get by having made that purchase, right? And that brings down um, your happiness with that particular product. So that's sort of where we come in. That there is a way to keep you focused on the good things about what you've bought, right? And remind you that, hey, you've made the right decision, right? Because every builder in the country is trying to be competitive, right? So in each of their micro markets, when they're selling, they are creating the best product in some fashion or the other, right? And the customer has bought into it and believes into it, right? So our job is to amplify it and ensure that the product matches up to what we are selling, right? That is always going to be the fundamental key in this, that the product needs to match up to what we are selling.
Got it. Um, you also mentioned, so what are the rewards look like if a customer is delighted and happy and wants to go ahead, what are the terms of the
So typically you get 1% cashback as the reward, right? That you get to give your friend a 1% discount, and you get a 1% cashback on the transaction, right?
mm,
And this is money credited direct into your account with TDS and everything deducted, right? So all the government compliance and everything around this is done.
1% is good, no?
Yeah,
People,
1% is good, right? Like, I that's a very healthy number for the things. Sometimes it can be lower, sometimes it can be higher, depending on the project, and that's a case to case thing that we take.
got it. So you mentioned that you are the only one in the industry who is providing it globally. You say, so what do you have certain moat that it is hard to replicate by other industries, or are you the first mover here and others will follow suit soon, or do you have something that only you can build in this space?
There are a few things in this, right? Like, first, um, we've been around for 5 years now, right? Just in real estate itself, right? So 2018 is when we started, so 5.5 years almost. Now, in this 5.5 years, a lot of people have tried to emulate our model, tried to copy our model. What happens is that all of them hit roadblocks in terms of the trust that the builder has to exhibit with their data. Now, in this 5 years, we've not done a single brokerage transaction for any builder ever, right? Like today, I'm connected to every builder in this country. But while I'm connected to not a single time will anyone ever say that I've come to them for a brokerage transaction where I'm trying to sell a property to anybody, right? The idea over here is that by not doing that through incredibly hard times like COVID, right? By not being a broker, I've shown that builders can trust me with their data, right? And I'm going to ensure that right is done by them for having trusted me with their data, right? This is sort of where a lot of companies struggle to build that, because this is some of the most sensitive information that uh, any builder has, right? Their customer data, their lead data, their broker data, right? What we what we have on our system is completely encrypted. No humans get access. Everything is absolutely protected. The idea over here is that the customers, you can't risk this, right? And for newcomers to come in and build that trust is going to take a long time. For existing players, there typically exists some conflict, right? So either they're doing some lead generation business of some form or the other, right? Either they're brokers themselves with the large organized brokers. They are a direct threat to builders, so builders don't want to give data to them. For uh, for other companies that have tried to emulate us, largely the struggle has been that they have a conflicting business inside real estate where they are selling leads of some form, right? So they're doing some form of digital marketing services or something. Because today, if I'm using your base to generate leads for you, that should never be diverted to anyone else, and there should be zero risk of diversion of that customer that is yours and has come from your hard work as a builder. um, uh, like, why would any builder want to risk that, right? So the first part of our moat is around this, right? The second part of this actually comes from the collective strength that we have today, right? So today, we have about 5.5% of India's market. And because we have 5.5% of India's market, what that does is it gives us a very strong bargaining power, right? That you can't be giving anyone else anything that is better than what you're giving through our channel to this audience, right? Because we literally have the most valuable audience in the world, right? Like homeowners today. Um, think of it this way, right? Like in a country of 1.4 billion people, we are looking at about 100 million tax filers and about 40, 50 million taxpayers, right? Of that small subset, we are now looking at only 3.5 lakh real estate transactions happening in a year in the top 7 cities, right? So the number of people that's actually making the purchase and are actually looking for things like home interiors and home loans and all is extremely limited, right? And we have a very large portion of that, and that's sort of what we are banking on now. That okay, the industry has come together to solve for this. We are a fairly open platform. The way we are positioned today is that we are sort of like how ATM services is for banks or NSE BSC is for banks, that they're a common service that was devised by these financial institutions to fix homeowner problems, right? Or say even, and this exists in every industry, right? Like for all of food industry, if you take it as a whole, Swiggy Zomato breaks up that entire value chain and takes only the food delivery aspect of it, right? Like now, obviously, the foods, the search and discovery, and the food delivery aspect, right? So they've broken it up, and the entire industry grew because of it. It broke Domino's monopoly on food delivery that existed before. Same way, even in say media, right? So in media, there are organizations that exist, like say Press Trust of India, right? Which is a collective of different media outlets to be able to garner news together, right? We are that for real estate, right? That we are that neutral service, that we are not a builder, not a buyer, not a broker, not a bank. So we are not creating any conflict for anyone, and we are just going to be that neutral third party that serves everybody, right? What to categorize this further? Um, we are like the Android of real estate, right? So we are just building the operating system, and we have a Play Store which we are controlling and monitoring across different hardware manufacturers, which are our builders, right?
So is it important for you to have a brand presence in the minds of home buyers as well? Because if they if they trust you, then they would rather go and transact with a builder who have partnered with you. So is that, or is your brand presence is more on the developer side?
So today our brand presence is more on the developer side, but the idea over here is that we are only working with organized builders, right? Like we only work with tier one, tier two builders. We don't work with small random builders, and we are creating a filtering process with it, right? The ones that work with us are the only companies in this country that really want to take care of homeowners in the best possible way and create the best ecosystem for them, right? They want to get organized around the homeowner and create the best practices that the entire industry is devising, right? So
Hmm.
that's sort of what our value proposition is. That today, while I'm not going to create a search and discovery platform on for this, which would create a conflict for leads, but my idea over here is to uh, build that degree of trust that Reloy acts as, that this is a RERA compliant builder, right? That these guys are out to give a great homeowner service, and because they're going to give a great homeowner experience, you can rely on them, and that's sort of where we fit in.
Got it. Let's talk about your business model. So
Right.
you mentioned about what the referral rewards are for the customers.
Right.
What's the relationship with the builder and you? How do you make money with them?
So typically, we take a small fixed cost to work with the builder and deploy technology, marketing. So the entire model is outsourced to us, right? Like the entire vertical, we'll handle everything end to end, from the brand alliance to the marketing to the technology that powers everything in this, right? Um, so we take a small fixed cost for that, but we also align ourselves with the builder that we are going to get you referral sales. And when we get you referral sales from this customer delight that we are creating, we'll take a small cut on that, right? So we take a very small portion of the transaction that is rewarding the customer, right? So this puts us in sync with the builder objective. This puts us in sync with the transparency that the customer is also expecting when they're expecting to get paid for the referral.
Got it. Nice. Could you also give a sense of the space of this space, referral business in real estate? How big is the market today? And if you are the only provider or the prominent one, at least, what was the size of your business today? What kind of business are you doing today? And what is the potential business overall in a country like India and maybe beyond?
Right. So today we are looking at 1,000 crores of referral sales that we've done already in this last financial year. Right.
Hmm.
We're expecting to move it up 3x in this coming year and move that up to 3,000 crores. We estimate that about um, 20% of India's entire housing sales happens through referrals, right? So in $100 billion sector, $20 billion is happening through referrals. So our job is to capture more and more market share of that and become that voice of trust that gets the referral through, right? So yeah, that's the India market. And then if we solve this in India and we create this digital trust mechanism in India, we can actually extend it to more parts of the world.
You mentioned what percentage of the overall transactions happens through referrals?
About 20%, right? So 20 to 30% is the sweet spot for most builders, for good builders to get referrals out.
And because of professional players like you, is this percentage should go up? Is that how it is? Or
Uh, yes. So what I'm talking about is mostly where we push our clients to get, right? Like, so most people are stuck between 5 and 10%, and we
I see.
push them up to, yeah, that 15, 20% is what you should expect within as quickly as you can get organized, and give, say, 6 months after that for the homeowner to actually truly enjoy what you're doing, right? So
Got it.
over a period of time, you come up to 15, 20%.
Got it. So, are what about other countries? So, I'm sure you keep a pulse on what's happening across the globe. Is this model not prevalent in other countries? Are you aware? Or
Right. So each country is unique in its own way. I feel like this is a fairly complex platform where there are a lot of different stakeholders. Right. So in our platform, we have buyers, builders, brokers, banks, home interior companies, government. Everyone is a stakeholder. Right. So
mm,
it takes a lot to actually solve for this particular thing.
mm,
Um, Models like this don't exist outside, in part also because that no other country in the world has the kind of digital infrastructure that India has, right? Like our digital infrastructure is world class, right? So what is possible in India is actually not possible in most countries of the world, right? And that's sort of what a big advantage is, and that's why you start with India and then solve for the rest of the world, because India should be exporting software, right? Like this is something that is anyway our strength. We export more software than Saudi Arabia exports oil, right? And if we are there, it's about time that we build more and more products that is for the world, right? And this will be one of those sectors that we champion, right? Because when you have the biggest problems, you have the best solutions.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, since this is a business podcast, our
Yeah.
listeners are often interested. Maybe they could be potential entrepreneurs themselves or other peers who are actual entrepreneurs who are listening to these conversations. Primarily, everybody's interest is growth, right? So, what has been their growth in the market and growth strategies? So, maybe for expanding your businesses, what strategies have worked for you for growth and scale? Is it through partnerships or promotions?
Uh,
Maybe shed some light on that one.
So for us, it was referrals actually, and the beauty of our model is that what's happened over a period of time is that we worked with people in one builder, worked very closely to help them shape that path, show them the kind of best practices that exist, and from there they move to other people or they have peers in other companies who actually keep moving, right? So over the last few years, we've grown through this network of champions who really just want a better real estate industry, right? Like everyone is fed up of the big bad builder reputation, and it's a little unfair as well in a lot of cases, right? So working to fix this is a very industry-wide problem, and I feel like the industry also likes the fact that there is someone out there who's just purely trying to solve for them, right?
Got it. So no. I'm sure. So referral is good. Any marketing expense from your end?
Some degree in this last year. So what we have started doing is some builder-related outreach. That while we do some builder-related outreach, that's that's still very very limited, right? Like it's not a very that's not the biggest channel of sales that you could count on, right? For us, how we actually got started was literally through a cold email, right? Like in 2017, when data came in, I actually sent out an email to everyone saying that your referral programs may be illegal, and we worked with Maharera, made a representation to them to explain why referrals is actually good for Maharera itself, right? With government as a stakeholder. And that's where we got a clarification on the law where referrals got legal. And from there, we started doing this, right? So cold email also obviously works, right? I was a 24-year-old kid in from Calcutta in Bombay who's working with the large real estate guys here, right? And that all happened because I sent out a cold email telling everyone that this is the problem that you're going to face, and this is a solution that I already have. So reach out, right? And you'll be surprised that if you are truly solving a unique problem that people care about, they will respond to that mail.
Got it. So if somebody is listening, say from Middle East or say from Europe, and they would want to talk to you, okay?
Yeah.
Like, first of all, do you have aspirations beyond India, or India itself is going to keep you busy and your appetite would be hitting a ceiling, right?
So,
So
yeah, so our goal is to go global, right? Like India is the perfect sandbox for us to build out the entire piece, build out what we would believe is the right operating system for this entire industry. India also is not just one market, right? Like a Bombay market functions very differently than a Delhi market, functions very differently from a Bangalore market, very differently from a tier two or tier three market that exists, right? So when we are solving for India, we are really solving for the world, right? And a lot of markets is actually very, very similar to the distribution channels in terms of the distribution channels as India. And once we believe that we are ready and scaled up and tapped India completely, that's sort of where we would move to, the Middle East and the rest of the world.
Got it. So it's a playbook that can be replicated to other countries and geographies and dynamics, local dynamics.
Of course, right? Like just think of it this way that the fundamentals of the transaction actually remain the same across the world, right?
Right.
Now, it's a high value, low volume, once in a
Hmm.
lifetime transaction that brings a lot of stress with it because the customer has never done this before and is obviously anxious about a large value purchase that's
Right.
happening, right? So the fundamentals actually stay true in every part of the world, right?
Right.
And every stakeholder in our system, right? So whether it's home interior company, home loan company, government, builder, broker, buyer, all of these guys are looking for largely the same things across the world, right? As much automation as possible, as much ease as possible, cleanest channels of distribution as possible. So the model is something that we will take to the rest of the world, and building our defensibility around software to be able to hyper expand across.
Defensibility in software is also the key, right? So the longer you are there, the richer are your applications, your integrations, the bigger is the moat for you, isn't it?
Right. Right.
Vis-a-vis somebody who's trying to build from scratch.
Right.
uh, okay, got it. What else? So let's talk about what the future could be. I'm sure as a visionary CEO, you know what all the possibilities that could happen in the next 3-4 years. Okay, because many
Right.
CEOs are just the mind is filled with all the brilliant ideas and put them on the roadmap. So where do you see this space evolving? What else could we see in this space? Maybe you could shed some light there.
Okay. The way I see it is that we are solving a very core data infrastructure problem in real estate, right? So if you solve the core data infrastructure problem in real estate, you actually get access to a whole host of different products and problems that need solutioning inside real estate. Now, in this, home loans and home interiors is the two most valuable problems according to us, right? And because these are the two most important problems for us to solve, we are focusing on solving this first. But there are a lot of connected things that come with housing, right? Like just think of it. India, about 77% of India's wealth is in housing, right? That's a massive number. And uh, sorry, there's just a lot of background noise. One
No,
second.
we
Didi,
don't
band kariye na, please.
we don't hear it. So I
Yeah.
mean, we
Oh,
hear
sorry.
it, but very few.
Right. But it was just distracting me a little, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay. So, yeah, so 77% of India's wealth is in housing. If you really think about it, even an Airbnb is built on the backs of housing, right? So, it's a property sharing model that you've created, right? And that's marketed as competing with hotels, right? But that's the power of this asset, right? Like today, even if millennial wants to um, retire at 60, live to 100, travel the world, the quintessential millennial dream that everyone talks about, right? Having you can't rent for 40 years of retirement, right? So you need to have one asset that is providing for you. B, creating that kind of dynamism for a millennial homeowner you where the property can be rented out for short periods of time on, say, an Airbnb like platform in a seamless manner, will get you the liquidity that you would want from the house to be able to fund your travel for the few months that you want to travel, right? And this is an asset class that actually keeps growing in value, right? So this is not something that really diminishes, right? And that's stayed true for the last 100 years. There is no reason for us to believe that it's going to change today because real estate is the safest asset class in India, right? Like in the world, actually.
Yeah,
Why am I
it
saying
holds
that?
it holds value. I mean, the value would not diminish drastically. Okay, it is a
Yeah,
secure place to hold the value of your investment.
absolutely. Right? Like, the home ownership also honestly is not going anywhere. Right? Like, I want to just divulge a little and actually talk about this. People keep saying that home ownership will go away because equities give you 12% return and FDs give you 7% return, and you should park your money in an FD, and rent is only 2%. And guys, this is the most absurd argument on the planet, right? Like every risk return and returns on investment is calculated on the safety of the asset class, right? if you look at equities as the riskiest asset class in the examples that I'm giving, and then mutual funds slightly lower as mixed funds, debt becoming one level lower of thing, currency is becoming even lower in terms of risk, governments governments backing the currency becoming lower on that pyramid, but real estate still features lower, right? So gold and real estate are the two asset classes that actually feature lower than even governments. That even if a country has gone bust, the asset value of your house will remain intact in whatever future government takes shape in that particular country, or currency, or equities, or anything else, right? And that sort of makes this asset class incredibly unique, right? Even let's compare this against gold, right? Like both of these are stores of wealth, right? Gold has liquidity, but real estate has utility, right? And we can't forget the utility value of real estate as an asset class, right? Like it's your house, it's how you customize it, how you build it, and make it your own to live life, right? Like like most people are not living making money to have a number on a screen, right? Like as in like for uh, in terms of a bank balance, right? Most people are living life for life, right? That you want to live life at its fullest, and the utility value that comes with owning a house is the absolute max,
Right.
right? A place you come back to, a place you build as your own, a place you spend the rest of your life in,
Right.
right? That you can retire, you don't have landlord issues, you don't have stress that, okay, where am I going to be in the next 1 year? Can I break down this wall and bring this into my living room? None of these things are things that you need to bother about, right? And
And
that's in
also,
wealth.
liquidity is also being solved. So the
Yeah, yeah,
transactions of your home's resale is only going to get better.
yeah.
So there's a lot
Right,
of
like see, when the world realizes problems around something, right, like they solve for it, right? That's been the most age-old tradition of the world, and this is something that we've now realized in the last 20 years, that okay, this is a problem that needs solving. That how can we create faster liquidity in uh, with homes, right? And the US has actually done a fairly decent job with Rocket Mortgage and like all these companies that do Zillow, that do an instant buyout for you, right? And liquidity is being created in different shapes and forms, right? Um, Models like that have started coming into India as well. There are a couple players that I'm aware of who are solving for liquidity in real estate.
yeah.
I would
Zap.
say,
I
yeah,
had a Zapkey founder on my podcast. So
right,
they are
yeah,
also, yeah. So they are also working on that direction.
yeah.
So excellent, cool. So with that, so how would that? So how would you be playing a role in facilitating that future?
So again, we are the data infrastructure around this, right? Like, so we have, like, because we are working with builders so closely, we can enable the supply chain towards these kind of uh,
Got
players,
it.
right? That if a customer, now think of it as the customer problem that they're solving, right? So if the builder is providing this service, that okay, I have partnered with Zapkey to give instant liquidity to you. That is a valuable problem to solve. Now, the problem that Zapkey and the builder both face is that I'm not taking any particular names, but hypothetically, Zapkey and the builder face is that Zapkey will not be advertised by the builder at all points, right? Like the instant liquidity service cannot be advertised at all points to them, right? For which you need technology, which is not the core competence of the builder, right? The builder can't keep marketing it. The builder can't take that data securely and keep passing it on to these partners, right? Because like that is one solution, there are 100 other solutions that people are looking for, right?
Hmm.
So the builder can't be responsible for it. The builder has enough problems to deal with, right?
Hmm.
And that's sort of where a player like us comes in. That for them, it is just easier to list on our marketplace, which would get them access to 5.5% of India's real estate market, right? That is just much easier to plug in with one, where you get distribution to all builders securely, stably, everywhere.
Correct. So let's. So I'm sure you have had your good run, but with any
Right.
building any startup has it's a roller coaster ride, right? So I'm
Absolutely.
sure you have had your share of ups and downs. So let's spend some time on highlighting what were your big wins in the
Right.
journey and where were those challenges that you overcame in this journey.
Uh, Right. Okay. So two sides to this, right? Like the highs is that I've actually experienced support from the industry like I would never have had, right? I was an outsider with no background, no connects, no nothing. This space, right? We are working with mostly corporate names, um, and tier one, tier two builders, right? So it's not like um, there was anything handed to me or anything granted to me. As an outsider, I got immense support from this industry because everyone wants a better real estate industry, right? Everyone wants this industry to grow. Um, in terms of challenges that I faced, like uh, there've been enough ups and downs, right? Like we started this in 2018. Um, there was a long period where people just didn't believe that we have this clarification from RERA for referral programs, right? Like imagine a 24-year-old showing up saying that, oh, I've gone to Maharera, gotten a clarification which helps Maharera and they're okay with it because it helps them. And this model legalizes this channel of sales. You should work with me, integrate your data with me so that I can get you referrals and I'll increase your referrals. Right? It's not just that I'm doing this for this. So it was a hard sell for an outsider to come in, right? And that took a lot of persistence for me. Plus, a lot of different things happened. So in 2018, one of the clients we signed up was a large NBFC, which started a vertical around this, around distribution of real estate, right? So their model was to fund real estate and then distribute units for them. And then RBI banned the entire model when the ILFS crisis unfolded, right? So that became a low that after having worked for months to launch a massive platform for one of the largest NBFCs of this country, immediately some challenge came in, an external challenge came in, and things went on pause. On the referral side, it took a lot of convincing across all legal teams, across everything that this is correct, right? Like what we are doing is correct. But over a period of time, there was enough evidence of the model being validated, and of course the RERA bodies and everything also checked out that yeah, this is fine as long as you're doing it in the right way and you're not cheating new homeowners, right? The fundamental idea of RERA is to protect new homeowners, and our platform does that better, right? Because we are for the good of the consumer in this entire piece. So over a period of time, like that was a long period challenge that we were facing. Then COVID was an interesting challenge, right? Like I think that immediately over, like we started, like in 2019, we had a massive launch where we sold 400 crores of units for a developer within 1 month of launch. And when that happened, we onboarded clients immediately, right? Like clients we were talking to for 1.5 years, signed up with us in December, Jan, Feb, March. We were having the best run of our lives till COVID hit, right? And then automatically everything shut for a very, very long time, right? Real estate was not selling. People didn't know what was truly happening. That's an every interaction that I was having with builders, the only thing that I was reminding them of is that every recession for the last 100 years has been followed by a boom in housing, right? And they need to focus on getting ready for a much, much better housing industry going forward. And that's something that that the industry resonated with, right? Because obviously the history now tells us that yes, there was a boom in housing, and this follows a very, very structured, basic approach where literally this sort of becomes common sense in a way, because every recession is combated by the central bank pumping in money through the banking system to the citizens. The same people who have access to the banking systems are the people who get access to this money and are able to grow whatever organization, business, everything that they're going with. So employees inside the company also make more money. That gives them that extra edge to be able to buy that dream house that they've been waiting for, which boosts that housing, right? Because you've come out of a period of insecurity and that comes in this. So remaining patient through all of this, all these years was incredibly challenging, because first was getting it up and running. When we were getting momentum, that hit pause because of COVID. Rebuilding that momentum post that happened purely because our product had just gotten deployed at enough places and we were selling enough for everybody and people were happy with what we did through COVID, right? So literally during COVID, and I'm actually going to talk about how progressive builders were during COVID, right? And this is something that doesn't get spoken of, but we are the people who have to champion what the good side of real estate, right? So during COVID, literally, I remember I called 3 CMOs up of tier A firms on the first day of lockdown. And I told them that, every customer is going to be sitting at home and they're going to wonder what to do with their time, right? So we have a bunch of influencers who are on a platform who we are connected to. Can we use them to give content to customers 3 times a day, right? That okay, we'll get someone to teach yoga, someone to teach music, someone to teach dance, someone to teach anything, right? And give them entertainment of different forms, right? Um, we actually assimilated that, and one day later, with us having zero social media management history, three of India's top real estate companies actually backed us that okay, cool, go ahead, do this on our pages and run this for our customers, right? That actually showed that like real estate as a sector is also something that cares about their customers, right? So during COVID, what happened was that while we were seeing the entire industry unravel and like the world slow down and the world go into lockdown, we actually use that as an opportunity to demonstrate that we have the capability of building content that is required for this also, right? So a lot of this has been about the just keeping the persistence on keeping your head right, that the fundamentals of of what we are doing works, right? That the fundamental of what we are doing works simply because keeping your customers happy and your customers rewarding you for it is as old as businesses, right? So that fundamental truth was never going to change, and as long as we could work on that and build on that, things were good, right? So yeah, like in terms of highs and lows, so the last couple of years have been very, very good for us because the industry has woken up to what we are doing in a much larger way, and have figured out different ways of creating this thing with their homeowners, right? That whether they've partnered with us or not, um, in their own limited fashion, builders are trying to do something, right? Like at least trying to send out one email once a month, right? Which may not be enough, but at the same time is at least one step in the right direction, right? That uh, I understand that they can't figure out everything, which is to get all these ancillary companies, all these ancillary aspirations solved for the customer, right? But at least they're trying to give construction updates more regularly, right? Like we've created a motive with referrals as clear as day to why you should treat your customers better, right? And that's sort of what our entire focus has been.
Got it. Excellent. And I also realized that you have raised funds recently. Why don't you share with us your fundraising story? Like when you began, did you bootstrap it yourself or did you raise
Right.
from friends and family? And then what about your recent raise? And then I'm also going to ask you what happens after a raise. Okay, how do you allocate that
Right.
money and stuff like that? So yeah,
Right. Okay, interesting. So we were bootstrapped up to last year, right? So bootstrapped. So I made some money in stock markets, which made me invest. So I took that capital, invested that into the company. Family backed me immediately. Like my dad obviously helped with those things. We built this up to last year where we took external funding. My philosophy has always been that hit some degree of product market fit before you actually raise venture capital, right? Because if you're not doing the initial bit, you will never know what it's like to run a lean organization, which is designed to be profitable, right? Like if you're just burning VC money from day one, you're never going to be able to build a solid unit economics business, right? So that was sort of what I actually wrote about this in 2016, right, in an article for Entrepreneur, which I'll share with you later on the side
yeah,
note.
sure.
But the philosophy was always to get to that point where you are ready to take money and scale up your business like never before.
Right.
So 2015 we raised about 5.5 crores. This year we raised 7.5 crores, right? So 7.2 crores is what we just closed a couple of months ago. All of this is going to fuel the future of this future of development. Um, Now, in terms of what happens after a fundraise, right? Which is what we started this whole podcast with, right? Um, it's actually quite interesting, right? Like because the second money comes in. Now, understand that equity is the most expensive form of capital, right? A lot of entrepreneurs don't actually understand that
Very true.
that you have to give a much higher return on equity than you do on debt, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Because like that's the only reason why someone's taking a risk, right? And when you have to do that, you have to ensure that you're using that capital that's with you in the most efficient manner and as quickly as humanly possible, right? So building out a team, now. Last year, I'll give you an example of what happened last year, right? So when we raised funds, we just come very, very close to EBITDA positive at that point. We had a couple months of EBITDA positive right before that. We raised funds. We went into burn zone, right? Why is it burn zone? Because we had to build a lot of capabilities inside the company to be able to, run the company, right? And post that burn phase, we hit EBITDA positive again, right? So from December to March, we were EBITDA positive again. And now we've closed another round of funding, and now our job again is to deploy, right? So to scale up our revenues and deploy capital in a way where both go hand in hand, right? So we don't have a built-in burn system, right? Like there's no cost of acquiring customers per se for us, right? The idea over here is that we use our capital very efficiently to build software, build capability. The industry knows about us, and likes what we are doing, right? So they're there to support us, right? So our cost of marketing per se is extremely, extremely low, right? And that sort of helps us do this. Now, during the last couple of months, the second we got the funding, immediately, it's about recasting what your goals are for the year, planning everything from the product, the manpower required to run the product, to the marketing that requires to scale up the revenue targets that you have for the year again, building the operational capability for the entire journey, right? Like, so with our builders, you have to build the brand that will be running their entire customer engagement program. We have to deploy the technology, scale up each of these parts, right? Because everything requires different skill sets of people that's there, right? So ensuring that there are no gaps inside the organization and actually structuring everything for this to happen. That's sort of what the whole thing. That's what sort of follows a fundraise, right? That it actually gets more intense after the fundraise than it does before the fundraise, right? Because you have to deploy as quickly as possible, scale up your capabilities, build what's missing, right? Like, yeah.
So what was missing? So is it so you said you do not have a lot of marketing needs. Is it on the product or on the sales side? Where are you deploying it?
Right. So it's mostly on the product side, right? Like for us, we are scaling up our engineering capabilities quite dramatically. We are scaling up our operational capabilities quite dramatically. Marketing is still a very, very small fraction of what we are spending on because, again, the industry knows us, trusts us, right? That we are not messing around with anyone's data. They know that our intention is noble. They know there is a very direct use case of our product inside their ecosystems, right? So the idea is to deliver the best, right? Like we are trying to build the Android of real estate, and the Android of real estate requires money to be made to be invested upfront, right? So that's sort of where this is going towards.
Got it. So my last question here is, what's your vision for the next year or two? Where do you see yourself in this space?
In the next couple of years, what I want to achieve is to integrate housing with housing finance and home interiors, right? That these three things that are bought together should be plugged together per se, right? And the second they are properly plugged together, that's sort of where homeowners are actually going to get access to their largest asset class in a way that they've never experienced before, right? Like I truly believe that that will be the next generation of housing altogether, right? And we are working very, very hard to get to that point much, much faster.
Well, excellent. This brings us to the end of a very, very fascinating and revealing and thought-provoking conversation because I did not know a lot about this industry. I did not even imagine that there could be a loyalty and referral programs in this industry and how Akhil and his team are solving for this. So Akhil, thank you for your time and educating us on this space, and appreciate your time with us today.
Thank you for joining in, right? And thanks to all your viewers for taking the time to listen to this. Really appreciate it.
See you around, Akhil.
See you. Bye.